You're very welcome back to the show. Now, at the tender age of 18, my next guest was in the wrong place at the wrong time and was a victim of a shooting which led to her being shot 9 times. She suffered traumatic spinal cord injuries and is now paraplegic. She's been dancing since she was 3 years old, but that doesn't let her wheelchair hold her back anymore. Yes, she joins me now to share her inspiring story. Diamond Garrett, you're very welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, you guys.
Take us back to when you were 18. You said you were kind of hanging around with the wrong people at that time. Tell me about your group of friends.
So at the time, being so young, I did feel like I was a little naive and felt like everybody was my friend. Honestly, I feel as though, even though I hung out with these people in my neighborhood and I kind of grew up around them, I ideally didn't really know them. And it took for me to get hurt to understand that I really didn't know what they were doing in their lives, what they were involved in.
Tell me about the day of your attack.
The night I got shot on November 3rd, 2012, I got a phone call from the individual that used to be my friend. And he just asked me like, "Hey, Diamond, can you come pick me up and give me a ride somewhere?" I never really asked him or got from him where we were going, who we were going to meet. And when I picked him up, he proceeded to direct me to where we were going. I remember really only wanting to give him a ride for the exchange of the gas money. But when I picked him up and he started to direct me where we were going, I realized I didn't know where I was at in the neighborhood. And he called these individuals to come outside. They proceeded to tell him that they were not there and that to meet them somewhere else. He asked me, could I take him to the second location, which I did. And at this location, it was a little bit darker than where we just were. And there were 2 individuals standing outside the car. He got out of my car. He went to speak to them. And shortly after speaking to them, when he got back in the car, he said, "Diamond, go." And the look on his face and how big his eyes were, I could tell that we were in danger. Honestly, I didn't think past that moment. I turned my lights on, but as soon as I turned my lights on, the same individuals he was just talking to began to shoot at my car with an AK-47 and an AR-15. And I was shot 9 times. He was shot 4 times, but there were 79 rounds of bullets in my car itself.
Yeah. And what was the altercation about? Was it drugs related? Was it gang related? Do you know?
So still to this day, Elaine, I don't know who shot me, why we got shot. He has never let my family or I know these things, unfortunately. So still to this day, I don't know really why. I've heard assumptions from certain people that basically kind of told me that he was not in the right things. I don't know the specific reason, which has been a really hard thing for me throughout my recovery.
Of course, it must be because 79 rounds found in the car. You're looking at semi-automatic, automatic rifles there. I mean, it's quite scary. Do you remember being shot? Do you remember the aftermath and going to the hospital?
Absolutely. So everything is crystal clear. I stayed awake the whole time, Elaine, because I felt like if I closed my eyes that I would die. So the entire time, as soon as I saw the fire from the gun, I felt it in the middle of my chest. So I got shot 3 times in my chest, 2 times in my back, once in my left arm, once in my thigh, and once in each knee. Every time a bullet pierced my body, I felt the fire. But the rest of my body felt like it was cold and shivering. As soon as I realized that I couldn't drive away anymore, because I looked down at my legs and they were really big and like it felt like I was spinning. And I immediately started to like pray. And there was a whisper in my ear and it said, "You can go, you can go." And it kept echoing, "You can go." When I opened my eyes, the green light was around the neutral, which means that my car was able to drive. It just needed to be revved up to go. Well, I noticed that I couldn't move my legs and I decided that I had to get out of there. I couldn't, stay there. I wanted to try to fight. And I decided to use my right arm and I scooped myself with my shoulder because obviously I was stuck in my seatbelt. The car had auto locked, so I couldn't really move. And I scooped myself with my arm. I put my head under my wheel and I grabbed my right leg from the brake to the pedal and I started to mash my foot on the pedal. My car started to rev up and go like vroom, vroom. And as soon as I think I heard it like 3 to 4 times, as soon as I heard that, my car started to drive down the block. But I noticed that I was going into ongoing traffic. So I did not want to hurt or kill myself in the traffic. So I just decided, by this time, they were still shooting at me. So by the time I got shot in my back the first time, by the time I got shot the second time, I could not breathe. It really took the breath out of my chest. And I decided to take my wheel and crash into a lady's front yard. And that is when all of the gunshots stopped. Everything that the glass, everything was just like silent. And it was in that moment where I had to just really wait for the police to get there and the ambulance. And those were the real true moments that I started to understand what was happening to me.
It's an absolute miracle that you're alive, and the other person in the car, he lived also.
Yes, so he did live, and he actually walked out the hospital 3 days later.
And you were the one who was left literally in a wheelchair, which is absolutely terrifying and soul-destroying for somebody, because you loved to dance. You loved being a dancer. That dream could have been ripped from you. But I suppose out of that awful adversity, you triumphed. Tell us about what you're doing now.
So it is amazing, and it is such a blessing for me to be able to dance still in a wheelchair. I am a wheelchair dancer. I have been dancing on TikTok for about 5 months now, and I am so happy with the outpour of love from the world. I have been choreographing dances and making them adaptive for wheelchair users. And I mean, it's totally, it's astonishing to me. It makes me feel so full inside.
Yeah.
And honestly, I forget that I'm in the wheelchair.
Yeah, the Rolettes. I love the name.
Yes, so the Rolettes are a dance group that I was a part of. They are one of the many dancers in wheelchairs that I've come across. I've also been around Auntie Angel, who is another wheelchair dancer. And being around the Rolettes and being around women who are in wheelchairs who are dancers has totally been empowering to me and inspiring. It showed me that dance doesn't stop with your legs. Dance doesn't start or stop with your legs. It lies within you and it's in your heart. And it is definitely my passion and I love it. I love dancing so much.
And of course, you found huge fame now on TikTok, which is lovely. It's a lovely outlet for you now. But what I think is fascinating, we don't really understand here in Ireland. You can't go into your local supermarket and buy a gun. There's very, very strict gun laws here. You're only allowed purchase a gun if you have a farm or if you need it for hunting, and that would be a rifle. There's no such thing as semi-automatics. There's no such thing as that. But you still believe in the right to bear arms for any citizen at all in the States.
So how I feel about this, and me being a gun violence victim, I truly feel like guns are not 100% bad. They are here for, our safety, for, police officer safety. I feel like they are fine to use when you are, in a life or death situation and protecting yourself. But when a gun and a firearm is used to harm another individual or harm someone and something, I feel as though there's no explanation for that. I also feel like it should be way harder in the United States to get a gun. It's too easy to go into the store, to go into a pawn shop and just purchase a gun, And like you said, semi-automatics, these are like machine guns. These are army type of guns. And it's too accessible for people to go in and, turn a regular handgun into a rifle just by a simple piece and putting it together. I feel like there should be a lot more laws that prohibit us to, bear arms.
Yeah, but you might think this is strange. Even our regular police force in Ireland, they're not armed. There's no such thing as it, which I suppose is very strange to
Wow.
someone living in the States. Yeah, they're not armed at all. So it's like two separate worlds, really, two separate worlds. Listen, Diamond, it's been absolutely lovely talking to you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and looking forward to following your journey on TikTok.
Thank you so much for having me. You guys stay safe.